instead of the Q&A that we often have, which is me asking you, the volunteers, questions who come up to the front. Today it's going to be you asking me questions. I got to get out of focus here because that was something that just does not allow me to respond to immediately until I sit with it, okay? And then I start to slowly take a step back and start looking at these things from multiple perspectives. But such actions should lead any human being to stop in their tracks and say, I can't even hold that. I can't hold it, right? But in the moment when these kinds of things happen, there's like empathy goes out the window. You know, my wife says, you don't do conflict reconciliation in times of war. In situations involving extreme conflict, a conflict facilitator is everybody's enemy. Just like I'm people's enemy because I'm not taking sides here. In the middle of that shelling, I called a woman, my wife and I called a woman who worked for us. She's in Gaza, and she took her phone and she showed her bags that were packed because at any moment they were ready, they knew they would have to go, right? They might have to go. And she said, my friend just died. Just like I say to people who support Palestine, I say, those of you who support Israel, stop for a moment in holding your minds that every one of those bombs is killing an innocent person.
I'm going to be honest, before this weekend, I didn't even know that there was a conflict.
No, that's not a critique at all. No, what it says about you is that you're busy living your life, and good for you.
As just like Penn State college students, is there anything we can do, or what should we be doing if we want to like make a difference?
There's this saying that is we're afraid of the things that we don't understand, right?
Yeah.
And me personally, I've only ever wanted to gain perspective, and
Yeah.
I've only ever wanted to meet people and learn things about people, or the way that they think and the way that they see things, because I think that that's very valuable. And I find it interesting how a lot of people want to preach about empathy and seeing ourselves in other people's shoes. But whenever people get the chance to do it, or whenever people are, they have this wonderful opportunity to be able to do that, right? Their first response is fear. What can we do when we come face to face with people that they choose to live in that fear and in that ignorance, and kind of ignore that chance to gain perspective?
Okay, so listen, the first thing is the ignorance may be just our own interpretation that their perspective is ignorant, okay? Their perspective might be truth, but I don't understand it. So that's really important, like really. The other side, though, is with empathy. Look, I want to say something about the times that we're in right now. What the Hamas fighters did in Israel, okay, the other day, you're gonna just close off opportunities for any kind of empathy at all, right? And if you really understand, if you follow war, and if you've been to war areas, and if you talk to people who have experienced such horrific massacres as what Jewish citizens experienced this past weekend, if you understand that, then you stop in your tracks and you say, okay, hang on. You unfocus your reality and you say, I gotta get out of focus here because that was something that just does not allow me to respond to immediately until I sit with it, okay? And then I start to slowly take a step back and start looking at these things from multiple perspectives because, bro, his comment, your comment, does a two-state solution work or is it a one-state? It's like this binary thing, right? Why just two? Why not an infinite array of possibilities, right? Why not, when I see what happened what these Hamas fighters did. First off, any human being should be absolutely horrified at that. Any human being, doesn't matter. It's like, dude, are you those of you who say, oh, I support Palestine, and Israel has been this occupying state and so on and so forth. Did you follow the stories? Do you see what they did to innocent human beings? I don't care who you are and how much justification you think that you deserve or you have or can use or deserve. But such actions should lead any human being to stop in their tracks and say, I can't even hold that. I can't hold it. Even if the people being slaughtered are your own personal greatest enemy, the fact that I can listen to Palestinian supporters get up and start talking about Palestine, but Israel has been oppressing Palestine for ever and for this and for that. I'm like, dude, stop for a moment and show your humanity and say, nobody, not even my greatest enemy in the world, not even the person who slaughtered my own family, should have to go through that. Nobody. So you take a moment and you just stop. And then you go from there, right? But in the moment when these kinds of things happen, there's like empathy goes out the window. My wife says, you don't do conflict reconciliation in times of war. In situations involving extreme conflict, a conflict facilitator is everybody's enemy. Just like I'm people's enemy, because I'm not taking sides here. Anybody want to talk about Palestine? If you want to talk about what Palestinians have gone through, whatever you think you know, I will guarantee I know more. I've been studying this for 43 years, and I've been to Palestine. I've worked with Palestinians. I know more. And I just made that statement. If you are supporting Palestinians and you can't even stop for a moment and hold the vision. 6 years ago, when the Israelis were bombing Gaza, and I think in the shelling that happened, it was like 7 days or maybe 12 days. I don't know what it was. But I think 12 Israeli soldiers died. 1,200, over 1,000 Palestinian civilians died. 12 Israeli soldiers, over 1,000 Palestinian civilians died, about half of whom were children. Now, I talked to Jewish people, and they said, well, we have to do that because we have to pacify Hamas. And I'm like, hold on a second. Hang on. In the middle of that shelling, I called a woman, my wife and I called a woman who worked for us. She's in Gaza. She's working in Gaza. And we loved this woman. We met her many times outside. And we worked together on a project. So we called her. We said, how are you? And she took her phone and she showed her bags that were packed because at any moment they were ready. They knew they would have to go, right? They might have to go. And she says, my friend just died. I have other friends, the shell hit their house. Gaza's like East Halls. You want to like bomb the commons area of East Halls? It doesn't matter how smart your missiles are. You're going to blow up a lot of things. And she said, I have friends who just lost 2 or 3 of their children. And right now, Gaza is being bombed by Israel. And every time I see a building blow up, I think there are human beings there. People are dying. And I was listening to a conversation with the UN representative of the Red Cross, and she was saying, listen, about 50 to 60, I think they say 60% of the casualties that we're seeing here at the hospital are children. And so then, just like I say to people who support Palestine, I say, those of you who support Israel, stop for a moment in holding your minds that every one of those bombs is killing an innocent person, including innocent people who I know. Yeah, but no, they're going after Hamas. They were going after Hamas 6 years ago. I think it was 12 Israeli soldiers and over 1,000 Palestinian civilians. Yeah, they were going after Hamas then. Well, what about the 1,000 civilians? What about that? And so we jump on, right? There's going to be a protest to support Palestine, a protest to support Israel. Okay, I get that. I understand that. I talk to people who've lost their loved ones, their children, and their parents, and brothers and sisters to terrorism.
I'm going to be honest, before this weekend, I didn't even know that there was a conflict
Okay.
happening over there. I just had never seen any media attention on it, especially through the type of media that I consume. So my question to you is, why do you believe that it takes such a catastrophic event, such as what happened this previous weekend, for more media to come out about a subject like this?
Well, here, listen, the fact that you don't know about the conflict just says a lot more about you than the media or the conflict, right? No, that's not a critique at all. No, what it says about you is that you're busy living your life, and good for you. Why should you be paying attention to a conflict on the other side of the world that doesn't really involve you? Like, why should you be? Dude, what we need is for people like you, people like all of us, be happy and spread peace in the world. Don't harm anybody. Be kind. You being all politicized about the conflict in Israel and Palestine, it's like, that doesn't do anything for anybody. So good for you, right? But it says something more about you, and the fact that you're living your best life, again, I applaud that. Then you're paying attention to the news. And people will say, oh, the Americans, God, they don't know anything. Listen, man, I've talked to young people in particular all over the world, and they don't know anything any more than American students. They don't know any more than American students. So anyway, the catastrophic event is for people like you who are living your best life, who are just trying to get on with life, right? To break through. And so that's what it is.
What do you think is the realistic approach to find like the common ground? And by peace, like how exactly could it ever be achieved? Because I think one party is eventually going to end up unhappy. So then what could be a realistic approach?
All right, so listen, the realistic place, here's where you start. You start right here. Human beings who have been traumatized and victimized, 99% of the time, they want to get past it and they want to move on with their lives. They do not want vengeance. Human beings, even those who have experienced the most horrific violence committed against them and their family members, they do not want retribution. They want to move on with their lives, okay? This is true in my studies of this everywhere in the world. Human beings want to get on with their lives. And people in power who are forced to give up something, what they do is they paint these victims who've been traumatized as wanting revenge. That's how the lives of Black Americans after the slavery here in the United States continued to be just taken in Black Americans continued to be victimized because white people portrayed them as people who definitely are going to want revenge. And they're going to kill all the white slave owners. And Black people said, I just want to be left alone. Palestinians, they want to be left alone. Jews who have been victimized, they want to be left alone. People want peace. They may not believe right away that peace is possible, but people don't want to respond. Like, they don't want that. People want to get on with their lives. In order to move forward, the people who are making those decisions have to understand that, what I just said, and they have to believe it. And then that makes solutions much easier to get to, because you don't put these roadblocks in the way. Because what happens is people create stories in their minds, like, oh, well, those people will never want peace. Therefore, I don't have to ever give anything up. I can just continue to hate them and attack them. Well, as long as we do that, then we don't move anywhere. Nothing happens. So that's the first step. Beyond that, it's God. It's God. It's up to God. Yeah. And I'm an atheist, and I'm still going to give it up to God. So,
As just like Penn State college students, is there anything we can do, or what should we be doing if we want to like make a difference?
yeah, you know what you do? College students, get involved with World in Conversation. Get involved with World in Conversation. So let me tell you a story. My wife taught a class on the Israel-Palestinian conflict, and she talked to. It was a random class. It was like 20 students. There were Arabs and Muslims and Asians and Jews and Hindus and Christians, God knows who, 25 students. And she talked to people in Israel, people in the West Bank, and people in Gaza. 1 week, one day they would talk to Jews and sometimes Zionists, sometimes not, and the next week they would talk to Palestinians, or the next day, right? Tuesday, Thursday. There were no readings in the class. None. Not a single reading. Students had to talk twice a week to these different perspectives, and then they had to go explore on their own. It was the most awesome class for me, watching it from a distance, experience that I've ever seen college students rise up. These students, because she didn't assign them any readings, they went out on their own. They did so much reading and so much writing, and they did so much thinking on their own terms, and they were all part of what is World in Conversation, which meaning this place where you're going to try to live in the space in between. The interstices is the word, right? And so, like, that would be the thing. Just do that. Just do that.